literally means the International Community Arts Festival. We started in 2001 when Rotterdam was cultural capital of Europe. Started as a very sort of small festival of basically community theater, a biannual festival, and that expanded along with the expansion of community arts as something of a hype in the Netherlands, but also in other places of Europe. We expanded to include other art forms. And basically the main aim of the festival is to bring together practitioners from many different parts of the world, people that normally speaking don't have time to look at other people's practices because they're so busy doing the work in some very challenging contexts. So there's usually very little energy, let alone resources for them to travel to many different places. So we bring, once every 3 years, we bring many different practitioners, many different practices together here for 5 days so people can sample each other's work in the context of workshops, can talk to each other, exchange ideas, challenge each other critically, and more than anything, become inspired by each other's work, by each other's methods, by each other's aesthetics, and also to realize that they're actually part of one huge sort of international movement, which is what it is. I think community arts, in the broadest sense of the definition, is an incredibly large worldwide movement that, in which thousands, if not tens of thousands of artists are involved.
ICAF is more than a festival. ICAF is an encounter of community arts makers all over the world. We try to invite the best examples to Rotterdam to show their work and the method, and just try to inspire people from all over the world to keep doing what they do, because I think community arts is very important work, especially now in times of war. I think that as community artists we have a challenge. And with art, we can make the world actually a better place, a more beautiful place, a cohesive place.
It's the best festival I've ever been to anywhere in the world because it brings so many people together from so many different countries and so many different backgrounds to share the best of this kind of practice and the best sort of processes of thinking about it, and it makes you realise that community arts is not just a niche sector, but it's actually a fundamental part of the fabric of the culture of the world.
ICAF is in and of itself like a community space. And it works because a lot of the issues that the different groups and communities are encountering in their own specific context are actually quite global. To know that there are groups that are facing similar challenges, though nuances a little different, is a really powerful feeling.
Community arts is a way of making art that connects, and at the foundation of community art is the connection and understanding, and trying to understand and bridging the gap between yourself and the other person. And ICAF is, for me, all about bringing all these artists that do this on a daily basis together.
Route 6, Oscar Ho, Hong Kong Umbrella Movement. Down there. Ruta 7, FM, Poder de Teatro de Hong Kong. FM Theater Power. 7? Where's 7? Over there, okay. Route 10, Big Heart Film Screening. 10, Joep over there.
I saw the first one. That was very small, and we were searching for artists and for community artists. And now this is number 7, and you see that the world is getting to know community arts much more than when we held number 1. And it's developing. It's more people, younger people. I see younger people coming to this festival, and more groups coming to this festival. So it's growing.
People feel at ease, and that they meet other people. They have wonderful workshops and get inspired. Even if it's only by one workshop you get inspired by, then we have achieved our goal.
I went here 3 years ago and volunteered, and I really fell in love with the festival, so I'm really happy to be volunteering. During the day in Islamunda, I'm working on a project, and it's an installation, interactive installation. And the aim of the installation is to sort of visualize the group of people that we come together with at ICAF and what we all stand for, and how as a group we make meaning about art. I invite people to add themselves to this web, and they can make a picture of themselves. I have a printer over there that can print the pictures. And it can be of anything really, of anything that represents that person. It could be just a headshot of someone, or someone made a drawing and we made a picture of that, and people can write down a text that defines them or their view on the potential of art.
I come to ICAF really for the sense of camaraderie and the rejuvenation that it gives me as a community theatre maker, to meet with people who make the same work and to share ideas and to realise that we're not in isolation in our own communities, in our own places, that this really is a movement that covers the whole world. I decided that it would be interesting to make the journey in a different way. Instead of hopping on the Eurostar from the UK and hopping off at Rotterdam Central, to do it somehow and to make the journey part of the exercise. So I've cycled. And I've cycled with a bicycle trailer and a bicycle-powered cinema in the trailer.
Rotterdam is possibly, arguably, the most international city of the Netherlands, particularly because of its port. The Rotterdam port is, for a long time, was the largest port in the world. Now it's no longer the largest port, but still one of the most important ports. So for centuries, literally, we've had people come in and out of the city. It's very international.
It seems that there's a real strong history of art making in Rotterdam itself, and there's a strong arts community here that are making work with diverse communities. It's also a community, by a port, so it has a history of different groups, different individuals, different communities, people from different backgrounds moving through Rotterdam, settling in Rotterdam. So that's that sense of a vibrant, diverse, complicated community that makes it a really sort of rich place to be.
The festival is starting tonight, but I have the feeling that it started already, like 10 days ago, because we had an artist in residence, Carroça de Mamulengos from Brazil, that has been working here with the Cape Verdean migrant community.
From Brazil, we brought our intuition that's guided by the northern wind.
E aqui em Rotterdam,
And here in Rotterdam,
quando nós chegamos,
when we arrived,
nós convivemos com uma comunidade de cabo-verdianos.
we started living with the community of Cabo-Verdeans.
Nós conhecemos pessoas,
We met people,
grupos,
groups,
ouvimos histórias.
we heard stories,
E como nós somos parecidos com as nossas diferenças.
and we are so much alike in our differences.
Criamos esse momento
So we created this moment,
para a gente ficar juntos.
so we can stay together.
É um espetáculo,
This is a show,
mas aqui, apesar do palco e da plateia, não há paredes.
but here, despite of the stage and the audience, there's no wall.
Igual à vida,
It's like life.
esse momento é singular e único.
This moment is singular and unique.
I was born in Suriname and I live in Rotterdam for like 32 years now. They told me that the group is going to perform in the Netherlands, Brazil versus Cape Verdeans. And I just met Maria and everybody told me that, hey, Simone can sing, Simone can sing. So Maria asked me to do a little performance with her. It's so different from all the other shows, and what I like the most, it's a family business. They are running for like 40 years together, and it's beautiful to see how close they are.
Our project is called Вместе. It's Russian for together. We're coming from St. Petersburg, and our project is 5 years old. We do different kind of social engaged theater projects with different kind of groups, artistic projects. Our focus is education and social change.
Right now we're having a big wave of Russian migrants who are moving to Europe. So it's been a year that we are preparing this project. So and now we showed a work in progress about that. So it's documentary and it's in the form of workshop. So we're training audience who came how to be Russian migrant.
Yeah, so basically it's the workshop called Double Eagle. So it's a symbol of Russia, and it's a bird with two heads, one looks at the west and one looks at east. And that's exactly like where the Russia is going always. Oh, where should I go? There, here. And we suggest to audience to kind of also put this question on them and decide if they want to go west, leave the country right now because it doesn't go west, it goes other direction, or stay and try to change it. From Russian context, from our context, that is super important now to do social engaged theater, as how we call community theater, because nobody do that. So basically, we are one of the few people in Russia who do social engaged theater, and especially because we are now living in this political and economical situation, it's become more and more important, more hard and more important.
The exhibition I organized is about the umbrella movement. It happened in Hong Kong in 2014. It's a very important event. It has been disturbed or destroyed by the Hong Kong government, but it's not end. What we try really hard is to make sure it keep going and want to let the world know about this very important event. In the last 2 years, the exhibition's been going around to many different places. I think it is important that to let the Hong Kong people know the world has not forgotten it. At the same time, I want to tell the world about this incident and the really passionate part of it, and all the really noble and courageous tears of all the people participating in it.
With all the problems that the world faces today, from ecology to Islamophobia, you name it, those problems don't stop at a border, and you don't fix them by building walls. And we believe, if we believe anything, as a festival, that you need to tear down those walls and keep talking with one another. Even if you don't agree, you need to keep talking with one another. And that's something that we do in this festival. We bring people literally from all over the world, from China to Uganda to Brazil to the United States to Russia for the first time this year, Romania, Lithuania. We bring them together.
I think it's very important to have a moment to reflect, actually, on your own work in your own context, and also to reflect on what is happening in the world and what can we do to change it. Because I think that nowadays the world is actually very small. With all the new media that we have, the world is just so small, and we can travel the world in just one day. So I think that information and coming together and sharing our methods and our thought is very important to do.
This exhibition is called the Maldives Exodus Caravan Show. And it's a group exhibition that I initiated and curated first for Venice Biennial in 2013. And it's about climate change. That's the theme of the exhibition. And the exhibition is inside this little cozy caravan, and also there's some content outside. When this idea developed, it was because I met Nasheed, who was the Democratic president in Maldives from 2008 to 12. And he's a really well-known climate activist. Just wanted to create awareness on climate change and Maldives through art, through the aesthetics of art and the playfulness of art. And that's why you got this eye-catching sort of image with the toy version of a Maldivian island on the roof, and this little cozy space where people can sit and engage and make a pop-up of the exhibition and learn about the political situation and watch art videos and documentary videos.
Today, mainly the session, I was saying, is a consultation about something that's going to happen very importantly to all of us here tonight.
Now, I'm guessing this majority of people, you are with the marsh, yes? Okay, so why do you choose to protect the marsh?
It's very, very logical, people. You can replace a market, you can replace a columbarium, but you can never, ever create a marsh. We need the environment, otherwise we will die.
We in Holland, we create every day new marshes. It's very easy. All nature in our country is engineered, so you can make it everywhere. But this is cultural heritage in a town as Singapore, which is brand new, everything is new and modernized. And this is one of the last parts in town which is really old history.
The lesson happens within an inflatable space that we actually built called the Goli. And what happens inside is we hope that the lesson and Goli will offer an opportunity for participation, engagement, and a lot of dialogue.
It was a performance where we explored the idea of democracy, and then I think it was about we're actually sharing a part of Singapore culture, how decisions are made in Singapore.
The process is actually very participatory. So we are actually not the actors, but we are the facilitators of the entire process. So the audience are actually the actors.
Why is it necessary something to be destroyed in order to have a metro?
Unfortunately, because land is limited in Singapore, so we only have that space to work with. Yeah, and that is a new metro line that we are introducing. So right now we are actually trying to be the bridge between the residents and also the government in the decision-making process about which site we need to remove. So right now, you see behind me is a group of people gathering, providing alternative choices, on what to do if we don't destroy any of the 5 sites. So then I think now the question is anyone against the idea that the metro should be in question, and you still strongly feel that one of these sites should be removed instead of the metro being questioned? So this, the two of you. Anyone else?
Mm-hmm. Well, to be honest, I mean, it is the consultation session that we have today, and at the end of the day, we do need to give a decision back to the government about this, right?
We walked in not knowing what, and it was laid out the choices, 5 choices to vote for, and it has the people have risen up to say this isn't good enough. We want other choices, and it's sort of we've taken control of the inmates have taken over the asylum. It is also performance, and so we have the freedom to play with it, be outrageous, but also be intense, knowing it's in this big aerial balloon. It sort of sets the stage, right? It says, remember, this is performance. It's like having a red clown nose on that says, yes, we're engaged in human interaction, but this is performance.
I really like that kind of style of theatre, this forum theatre, that really gets the audience involved and actually vocalising certain issues in the world. The lesson really shows how important community theatre can be.
In Singapore, I guess the idea of democracy is very interesting because some people do think that we have a lot, but actually it's within a pretty big, tight framework of what is, you can say a lot of things, but within a boundary. Yeah, so constantly, at least within, for our works, we try to expand that boundaries and have more opportunities for dialogue.
In ICAF, we're all learning from each other, so we're just sharing one model that we have learned, and here we hope to learn from everyone else as well.
There are a lot of similarities in the kind of challenges that we face, across countries, across continents. Yeah, so it's as if we are working contextually very different spaces, but the kind of work that we all do actually face very similar challenges. So it's very interesting to have this kind of interaction and exchanges with each other to learn from each other.
It was a totally different response from what we did in Singapore, so I found it very empowering for myself.
It's my second time here at ICAF, and the first time around in 2014, I learned so much from all the different talks and sessions, and I was asking Eugene, when is he going to have the next one, because I want to come back again. So I'm really glad that for this 7th round of ICAF that we actually got the opportunity to present something.
The performance of Fada Theater, Talent on the Run, a performance made by Syrian refugees. I just walked in the main stage just like 10 minutes ago. And I've seen the performance twice before, and I walked in and again, it struck me again. It was really, I think it's so important that these kind of performances get attention and get a stage.
Working already in Syria like actor, and for me I'm playing in Syria and Iraq and Rames. We play in Egypt also, in Jordan, in Lebanon, like this. So we come to this country only for work. When we want to camp Alfin and Rhein, then someone he kill himself. When he kill himself, we looking to a lot of people he thinking like him. So we talking me and Rames about if we can make theater sketch, and we choose some people. We looking to our friend who can act, who can play, and we make this sketch in a camp. Then we met Nancy.
I met them in the camp, and I saw their play without light, without everything, and I immediately saw that it was a beautiful play, and I said to them, well, all the rest of Holland has to see this. Last time we had a show, a man was saying, now I see you as human beings. Now I see you as a real problem. Because I was always afraid that the refugees are taking over my country, taking my jobs and my home and that kind of things. And now I see a totally different picture.
This performance is talking about what's happened in Syria. We have 1 million person die. We have 7 million refugees like this. So we have a message for all the people. We get a lot of questions like why you play, what you want, how I can help you. Just tell the people what's our story.
I feel deep respect that after they have overcome such terrible things, still they have the strength to organize all this, because I know how much work it is to create a new play.
That was incredibly moving and poignant, and really interesting that it was, it was in their own language. There was so much movement involved that was really engaging and done really skillfully.
Impressive, and I think it's important, and I'm still trying to mix it all in my brain and giving it a place.
The first time for me to participate in the ICAF, and it's super nice, like really, really cool. We're community artists, and back in Uganda we've done a lot of projects. Basically what we're doing here is trying to engage everybody into understanding our methodology of how we exhibit our art and how we choreograph. Because I get to know that everybody has a different style, and it's always nice to share and all that. And that's why this festival is very special, because it brings a lot of people together, not in the same discipline, but in different disciplines, and you find yourselves sharing a lot of information. The workshop has an influence. It's actually African dance. You gotta be bare feet, and then you gotta really like let it loose. We try to bring in the traditional Ugandan African dances, because usually a lot of people say African dance, but Africa is a continent. So there's a lot going on when you just say African dance. So it wasn't just an African dance, it was more traditional Ugandan dances. The workshop has kept growing. Like from yesterday, we had more demand to have the workshop going on today and tomorrow. So, I mean, it's the energy that we want, that we give out and we get back, that makes it very special. Action. It's called Empty the Space. It's basically about a question of how do you feel space. Space can be movement, space can be just space, you know, like if I'm standing next to him, how do I feel that? Do I stretch my arm? Does he lean back? You know, questions like that, because usually when you're in a community and you want to talk to somebody, it always depends on how you approach them and how you're willing to be open-minded to talk to them.
Coming from a society where I grew up listening to different kinds of music, the urban and the traditional, and also participating in, traditional folk music and traditional and urban dance hip-hop. So it reached a point that we wanted something that represents us, that something speaks to us, the fusion. Everyone is fusing something today. So when I hear music, I want to hear music that speaks to me. Yeah. I don't want to hear music that like way far away from me. So I came up with the fusion of traditional and urban music. An honor to take part in this kind of amazing get-together artistic community / amazing program to get to meet also lots of people. We come from a very mostly self-taught part of social work and community outreaches. The last 5 days we've been working with the CODATs, second-year students who are also doing under the program of community arts, community dance. What is community, working with communities, So it was really a pretty very space that we get to explore and share ideas. How would you do it in Uganda, or how would you do it without education, and what's the reason why you're doing this kind of work? What does it mean to you when you go and reach out people in slums, or what do you do when you go reach people in the Netherlands? So it's basically comparing the two worlds and finding the middle line of why we do things and what's the impact of the things that we do, we impact on people. How do we change lives?
The relation of ICAF to the geopolitical developments around us. Many things are changing very rapidly. There have been parliamentary elections here in the Netherlands just a few weeks ago. The presidential elections in the US have affected the world. The meaning of community arts to the world around us, I think, has become more important than ever before. That's at least how I feel. I've been in this world for well on 30 years, really. I think the way the world is developing, has been developing over the past months and looking towards the future. I think we're looking also at a great deal more polarization. All kinds of issues are playing here, but in many other parts of the world. And I think community arts, because of its very nature, that is to say, many of these projects take place in the neighborhoods where these polarizations and these tensions are heaviest of all. I think community art is capable, has a potential power of actually not solving the world's problem, obviously, but certainly to get a more respectful interaction going between very different kind of people. And I think in that sense it's very different from, let's say, a mainstream sort of art form, where generally speaking higher educated people go and consume art. Community art is very hands-on, very slow processes, tackling issues that really affect people who are affected most by these issues.
ICAF is a really inspirational place. For us, it's really a luxury and an honor to be part of this festival in this place where we are really showing our work. But above all that, it's also about how much we are taking from others and all the connections that we are making with people. Yesterday we were sharing a workshop about collective creation. We work in mixing dance, visual arts and music. We were sharing some of the strategies or the mechanism we use in our new piece to create in a very horizontal way without having a leader, and together in mixing all the different artistic areas. So that is not one area that leads, but how everything can really meet together and be one piece of art.
Ayer ha sido como una experiencia muy agradable, muy sin...
It was a pleasure to share our way of working and to really transmit or to tell others all the experiences that we have through movement.
While candidates like Trump for America or Wilders in the Netherlands or UKIP in the UK, with their increasing calls for strengthening national identity or boundaries, get a lot of attention, I don't think they represent the full gamut of political, social or cultural activity or interest. The way that ICAF can help is by reminding us that actually most of us, and that would include most people who support populist or nationalist movements, are looking for some way to feel like they belong to a community, to feel like they have some power in relation to the society they live in. They want to feel like they have some control over their lives. They feel like they need to have some creativity and some capacity to author their own creativity. We can belong to a human community as much as a national community, and national communities are just another kind of story that we tell ourselves, and we can tell ourselves an infinite range of stories because the human imagination and creative spirit is limitless.
Don't call me honey, don't call me dear, don't even call me 'cause I don't want to hear. And I find this funny, do I make myself clear? Don't call me honey, don't call me dear.
Eugene invited us to come and play at the festival, but he knows that we have a big interest in community arts and community music. Every time we do a gig, that's a different feeling, but last night it just felt, it felt like a nice community feeling because we've all been spending time together at the festival, and you're just meeting people all along, so you kind of felt like you knew some of the people, even though they're new to us. But then by the end of the gig, we sang, we did our set, and then by the end we started playing a few traditional Irish tunes, and people got up and started dancing, so that was just great. Community art is so important. I think every human needs to sort of have some form of expression. I don't think it should be just, confined to like people who are professionals. Absolutely not. I think it's for everybody.
What's the advice when you don't know what's coming? There's a secret untold that I think you should know. There's a storm on its way, I can see it in your eyes. Hold tight, accept the right, you've got to live your own life.
We are doing the roof, and it's a walk that we do here in the neighborhood. We wanted to do something that we work in a public space, so outside, and we were looking for something, a kind of project or method that keeps us outside.
We try to find a way to connect to people and to discover a neighborhood, but not only by ourselves as individuals, but really with the neighborhood and with the people who are coming with us.
And the roof is a good excuse somehow, because a roof can be something very concrete, you know, a roof that you go under one roof, you need a roof, but it's also very poetic, because for some people a roof is like a group of friends or a good drink or things like that, but it also can be very political today, like a shelter, a roof, so there's a lot of different angles. We are starting in this square, and we take the role a little bit like a researcher, and we go on a parkour, and we stop in different locations, and in each location we research about this place, like what people think, how they live, what they think about home, what they like, what they don't like, and each place we have a different tactic to measure these things. So in some place we make a survey, we open a complaint office, we ask people to complain. In another place we sing a song, we see how it is in this little square, what is the potential, we try to test things. People from the festival can join us, and if they join us, they join this research, so they become the researcher.
And for this we have also a couple of tools, so we have white researcher suits, and the people who come with us, they wear it as well, so they become part of the group.
It's also about a certain repetition as we go on. It's always you come back to the same place, you collect more, you talk to more people, they already saw you yesterday, they're curious, the next day they ask you, and you kind of also start to build a rumor around and people, so it's kind of growing, and each place you have a certain mission, and you try to find different solutions for this mission to acknowledge, and sometimes you fail because it doesn't work, so next time you can try it again, you have a different solution, you have a different idea, and the people who join from the festival, or they are also there to think with us, like what solution, how can we do it better, how can we achieve this goal better.
The KISS is a performance that takes place in public space. We're not only performing here, but we also rehearsed here a bit, and we worked with students from Code Arts, and we introduced them to make contact to strangers, how it is to be able to connect to other people, and how it is to involve and engage people. We worked for 5 days with the students, and now they have a slight idea what we are doing normally. What I love about this place is that daily life is going on, and we're performing in daily life. So there's a lot of risks, there's also a lot of distractions, and it's also a bit vulnerable. But I think this vulnerability or the distraction are the new story to begin with. And we take this with us when we go to Breda, where we come from. For me, Site Specific Words is a way to connect to society. It's a way that you can really understand human being because you're part of it. It is a direct dialogue between me as an artist and the people that are part of this environment and this venue. So it's not only an artistic process, but also a social process going on.
This film's about Albert Namatjira. We come to tell the stories how he lived.
Albert Namatjira, the first Aboriginal artist to achieve recognition as a painter in the white man's manner.
The father of modern Aboriginal art.
I'm the creative director of a company called Big Heart, or Big Art, and we're presenting the Namatjira project documentary. We were here in 2011 near the beginning of the project, and we're back again to present the very final stages of it. What Big Art does is to look for hidden issues, hidden stories, invisible stories, make them known, work with the community where they're happening, and then drive change to bring that invisible story back into the mainstream. In this case, the Namatjira story is about an Indigenous family who are part of an art tradition, and they don't own the copyright any longer in their work. They need it back, so it's a quest to get the copyright back. It's also a quest for broader social justice for the family, and because they started the art centre tradition, the Aboriginal Art Centre tradition in Australia, it began with them. It's a bigger picture issue in Australia and a bigger story.
Here you find that strange business of a man that's earning a lot of money is made a citizen.
You can't be taxed if you're a ward of the state.
feel a part of the flora and fauna.
A lot of the Namajiras are in really quite desperate situations.
It's falling apart, you know, bit by bit.
So the film is a documentary of a project that had many different layers. It began as a community development process. From that it developed a theatre performance that toured Australia and came to the UK, and 50,000 people saw it, and that from that we set up an interest in restoring justice to the family, and then from that, with a whole range of different products and media strategies and approaches, we have re-established the strong desire in the country to return the copyright. We think that community art is unusual, but for most of the 50,000 years of human history, all art has been community. In the Indigenous communities where we work, there's no word for art because it's the whole of life. For humans to thrive, part of that journey is having a voice, being creative and being able to influence the future, and that's what good art should do, and rarely does. So it's very important that in terms of this festival, that all the artists are working to move upwards, to engage more deeply in community, but also to engage more deeply with that part of the community that are the decision makers that affect the people in the rest of the community.
We have different groups that already been here for a couple of days and have been working with the community, in the community. So we say we are just a festival of 5 days, but actually we do much more than we realize actually, and then we explain to people. We actually try to make the connection with the community in here in Rotterdam. We always try to make that link.
A couple of years ago we heard about a project in Austin, Texas, where a dance company, really community-based dance company, had been working with a group of sanitation workers in the city of Austin and their vehicles to create an amazing sort of dance performance with these huge, these garbage trucks in the US are even bigger than the ones we have here. They created a site-specific performance on an abandoned airfield. So the people from all over Austin came there to see it for a number of nights. I contacted Alison Orr, who's the artistic director of Forklift Dance Company in Austin. She became very curious and said, I would love to come, but I would like to then also meet sanitation workers in Rotterdam. And so she has been, and she and her colleague have been, over the past couple of days, actually, doing the routes with the garbage collectors in Rotterdam, sitting in their vehicles, helping them also put garbage in there. It's like field work. They're actually going to do something similar with Rotterdam garbage trucks in the square in front of Isla Munda Cultural Center.
Shadowed them on Tuesday, where we went out on route with them and worked with them. We went out with sweepers one day, we went out with the big trucks another day, rear loaders, and so we learned about their job for 2 days, and then we began rehearsing.
So the first rehearsal was actually, we did a mini rehearsal on Wednesday, just impromptu, but it was really yesterday for a few hours, and then this afternoon, that was it. So very little time.
The strangest thing about being in Rotterdam is that these trash guys have done a performance before. So they had come with sort of this knowledge and aesthetic and things that we normally have to kind of build, but I think that they were able to get started quickly. So that was really exciting but also really fun to just work in a different culture. We had a lot of language, issues, so that was cultural issues to kind of get around, in addition to learning the work culture and kind of how they are. So it was really, I think, really fun.
It's fun because you see the other side from your college, and the audience see the other side from us. So it is fun to do things with the cars you never do. You're not allowed from the bus to do circles or putting containers in the crane. So it's all fun. You heard above the music, applause, and it gives you a good feeling.
happened.
It happened.
Yeah, it was great. They're just really smart, and they know, they just got it. And they were just very on it and wanted it to look really good.
We know 2017!
Imagery, such an intense physical experience to watch. And I think it picks up on the fact there's an awful lot of levels of language. There was not a word in the piece. The only sound other than the music was the occasional bark. It's a harsh bark. And yet the languages that are there, we don't all speak them. There's so many questions, so many provocations from a piece like that. Is it for us as an audience? Is it actually work for the performers? What are all those levels? And remembering that they're there and we should never forget about them.
There was so much in there that I was ill-equipped to meet. So much material that I don't know about culturally. And so I'm looking at something, sort of as an ignorant cultural anthropologist, grasping for something and realizing it's far more complex than I am able to understand.
It reminds me to the paintings of Hieronymus Bos. He's a Flemish painter, and he creates those pictures of all kind of creatures. And I saw them coming alive in this performance, and I think it was all about hell and what human beings can do to each other.
The play is about basically the experience of confinement, so being locked up, but also going through a process of shame, of culpability, of social exclusion, and trying to put all of this whole experience of what it says violence, essentially, both what somebody has experienced and what somebody has maybe committed.
It's a big opportunity for us to be in here to represent our country, Nicaragua, and Llega Teatro, because we learned, we came from a community, because on jail is a real community, because on jail you decide to be with them or to be without them. All we're doing with Llega Teatro is we represent what we used to be.
This is the first time that we are actually having guest curators. We have contacts all over the world, but we can't actually be everywhere or see projects in their own context. So we have to have more eyes and ears everywhere in the world to help us find good examples of community arts everywhere in the world. So people are like Matt Jennings is someone who has been working and researching community arts for a long time, and he has a huge network. Also Tanya Cañas, who has a totally different context in Australia.
I think what's special about it is because it sits in a multitude of in-betweennesses, in between sort of intersectionalities. We're looking at politicized theatre, different sorts of types of art forms. All these different intersectionalities create for a really sort of dynamic, interesting, and I think relevant form. Whereas if we were just we're just going to do theatre and it needs to be this and we're going to choose this issue to do about theatre, you're kind of repeating the same recipe. Whereas if you centre community itself and community engaged methodologies, that can take you anywhere and it is continuously resonant.
It's funny! Funny!
Spelling!
He's not ready!
I'm cool.
I'm cool. No.
Spelling!
Oh, he's not ready. I'm not ready. Spelling!
I'm not ready!
I think she was the best.
Spelling!
The kind of spanning. Which is the least? Well, I think it's hard to say.
It's okay, be honest.
Yeah. Perfect.
個改動見到有啲咩改動，你哋可唔可以分享下？
What are the changes that you noticed?
FM Theatre Power is an independent theatre company, and we believe in theatre of the people, by the people, and for the people. So we do a lot of community arts thing in Hong Kong, like street performance to try to get close to the people, and then also a lot of performances in schools and a lot of community art centres. And also we are trying to develop a new theatre form from play forward and form theatre mixed together.
Play forward is an integration of playback theatre and the theatre of the oppressed, which is from USA and Brazil respectively. And this integration makes us believe that people has the right to face their past so as to face their future in the mutual respect environment in the theatre. And theatre, as the rehearsal of life, should have the chance for people to face their situations in different aspects.
It's called Women in Red, and it's basically involving a lot of different kind of women's stories, because again it is developed from playback and play for theatre. We heard a lot of stories by doing this kind of theatre form, maybe hundreds of stories about women and actually about people, not only women, but because I'm a woman, so I try to play the character of women, but actually it is telling many different kind of stories of different ages, different backgrounds, different status in Hong Kong, which are all local true stories from Hong Kong. So I'm so happy that we can share these stories here in Rotterdam with international audience. These are like Asian or Far East stories, and then we have different maybe mindset or different lifestyle, and also different status for women. And maybe it's also universal too. So it's a very good platform for us to share these stories with people here.
Someone asked me a question this morning about how we listen to people. There's something about the way the best community artists listen to communities and listen to each other. And in the current times when it feels like we've got a massive deficit of the way people listen to each other, community arts seem to be more important than ever. We are living in deeply troubled times, whether you're in Britain, Netherlands, in France, and whatever your feelings about the politics of that time, there is clearly a disconnect between different communities with very different points of view. And there's a lot of anger in a lot of communities. And whether you think that anger is justified, or you think it's appalling and wrong, or whether you think that it's got some credibility, the point for artists is to start to make connections and listen to each other and try and work out why people are angry, why these sort of settings and these situations are happening.
If we didn't have ICAF, then I think our world would be immeasurably poorer, because we'd lose the possibility of collaboration, both in terms of making physical work together, but also in terms of the conversations that happen here and extend and travel through social media. Without this festival, that wouldn't happen. The world would be a poorer place.
If you look at the world in this decade, right now we're seeing the implications of exclusion, and political exclusion and community exclusion, and what it drives is a deep hurt, and that hurt then drives anger, and that anger drives behaviours that create more exclusion. So what's desperately needed is a way to be included again in the narration that is the nation. If you think that countries are actually stories and they're made up of different chapters, chapters are all the time being rewritten. Now, if you exclude people from being part of rewriting, you exclude them from their own future. And that's what community art can contribute to. But I'm going to say this, and it's going to be controversial. There is a real issue that most of the work that comes out of the community sector doesn't engage deeply with virtuosity and excellence and the places where decisions are most potent. It engages pretty well at the community level, but we've got to look for deep sophistication and end the specialisation which is keeping community artists in the ghetto.
thing that makes this festival unique is the fact that we invest so much in these relationships with everyone, every single member of the audience, but also the people we programmed. And also for us, ICAF is only one manifestation every 3 years of our work, but it continues. It's not like we don't do anything for 2 years and then 1 year we have the festival. These relationships that we build are vital, and this is the core business. The core business is the relationship we have with all the artists, all the communities.
Through community art processes, people's imaginations are being stimulated. People's creativity is being stimulated. And when there is a world around us with war, with polarization, with all kinds of conflicts, you need hope for at least a more positive development in the world. And I think through the imagination, through the power to imagine other realities, and through the creative act of working together with other people and understanding that you cannot do it alone, you need other people, you learn to understand that it's possible to build different realities. Because the reality we live in today, even if it's undesirable, has also been created by human actions.
It's over and I feel exhausted. I feel energetic at the same time. I feel soft, really. My heart is softened, and I'm very emotional about all these new contacts and new people that I've met, and the fact that it worked again to exchange with so many different people.
At the end of the festival, it doesn't feel like the end. It actually feels like a continuation, and you just like all of us here are feeling the vibe and the energy to continue the work we do. So whether we needed a recharge, whether we needed a new sort of direction, another frame in our practice, like this is kind of like the black belt where you continue going. Like that's just the beginning to something else. And I think that's the exciting bit.
I'm feeling that ICAF buzz, baby. I'm really feeling that ICAF buzz. As I said this morning when we were asked to sort of provide 5 words of reflection, I feel like everything's going to be all right, and I wouldn't have said that a week ago. And I don't necessarily mean floating in a cloud of naive optimism. I mean, when you see the level of beautiful, intelligent, sensitive, imaginative, aware work going on, when the level of discussion and the level of sharing and the level of relationship and the level of conversation is so inspiring.
I'm feeling very happy, but also very tired. My feet hurt and I'm missing my bed, but I'm also very happy and content, and I got a lot of positive mood and reaction from people. So I'm looking forward to the next one.
I feel surprisingly good compared to the last festival when I was sitting and someone was also interviewing me. I remember sitting in that red chair over there with the first beer I had in 6 days, and I felt like drained. And I don't feel that now. I feel energized and satisfied in many ways.